Imagine a world without wires, no cables hanging over the streets, no messy plugs in the walls, just pure, invisible energy floating in the air around us. Nikola Tesla had a vision that was far too big for his time. He wanted to give the world free energy, as simple and as natural as the very air we breathe. But the more he reached for the stars, the more the world pulled him back down to earth. The higher he climbed, the longer the shadows became. This is the final chapter of the man who saw the future long before it arrived. Welcome back to Episode 3, The Master of the Invisible World. Relax, listen to the English, and let the final chapter of Nikola Tesla unfold. The story of the light is about to reach its end. Part 1. The Master of the High Frequency.
After the victory at Niagara Falls, I became the most famous scientist in the entire world. I was no longer just an immigrant. I was a star in New York City. I lived in the finest hotels. I wore elegant silk suits and gray gloves. I spoke 8 languages and was friends with kings, millionaires, and famous poets. But I did not care for the parties. My heart was always in the darkness of my laboratory. There, I performed miracles that no one else could understand. I would stand in the center of my dark laboratory and let hundreds of thousands of volts pass through my own body. My skin would begin to glow. Blue sparks would fly from my fingertips into the air. My guests would scream in fear, but I would only smile. I knew its power. I understood its rhythm. I understood its heartbeat. I showed them that a light bulb could glow brightly in my hands without any wires at all. The future, I told them, is wireless. The future is clean, and the future belongs to everyone on Earth. Part 2. The Whispers from Mars. In 1899, I decided to leave the noise of New York City. I moved my work to the high, lonely mountains of Colorado Springs. I wanted to talk to the earth itself. I built a giant copper coil that reached toward the clouds like a metallic finger. It was the largest Tesla coil ever built. One night, the air was thin and cold. The mountains were silent. I was sitting alone in my lab, listening to the heartbeat of the planet through my sensitive instruments. Suddenly, I heard something, a faint rhythmic sound. Beep, beep, beep. It was not a storm. It was not the wind. It was a deliberate, intelligent signal coming from the deep darkness of space. I believed with all my soul that I was hearing a message. I have heard the voice of another world, I told the press. I believed it was Mars. The newspapers laughed at me. The scientists called me a madman. But I did not care about their logic. I knew that we were not alone. I knew that the entire universe was a vast, connected network of energy and information. Part 3. Wardenclyffe, the Tower of Hope. I returned to New York with my greatest idea yet. I wanted to build a world telegraphy system, a way to connect every human being. I dreamed of a giant tower that could send news, music, and even pictures to any point on the planet in a single instant. But I had a secret goal too. I wanted to use the Earth as a giant conductor. I wanted to send power through the very ground we walk on. I wanted a farmer in Africa or a sailor in the middle of the dark, cold ocean to have light and heat completely for free. I found a powerful banker, J.P. Morgan. I told him about the wireless messages. He saw a way to make more money, so he gave me the funds to start. On the edge of Long Island, a strange structure began to rise. It was called the Wardenclyffe Tower. It looked like a giant mushroom made of heavy steel and copper. It was 187 feet tall. It was a monument to the future. But as the tower grew, the businessmen began to worry. They began to ask questions. J.P. Morgan looked at my designs and asked a question that changed the world forever. "Tesla," he said coldly, "where do I put the meter? If everyone can have energy for free, how can I sell it? How can I own the lightning?" I did not have an answer for him. I did not care about the meter. Part 4. The Fall of the Dreamer. Morgan stopped the funding. The checks stopped coming. The work at Wardenclyffe slowed down and then it stopped completely. The workers walked away. The giant machines became silent. I was left alone with a half-finished tower and a mountain of heavy debt. A few years later, the tower was taken down to be sold for scrap metal. I watched from a distance as my dream was taken away. I felt as if my own heart was being broken into pieces. The world was not ready for a future that was free. The world was more interested in profit than in sharing power. I became a man out of time. People used my AC motors. They used my radio technology, but they forgot the man who had first given them the spark. Part 5. The King of Room 3327. In my final years, I lived in a small, quiet room on the 33rd floor of the Hotel New Yorker. I was a lonely old man. I had no wife, no children, and very few human friends. The world of the millionaires had forgotten my name. But I was not truly alone. My only companions were the pigeons of New York. I would walk to the park every single day to feed the birds. I felt a special connection to those small, feathered creatures. There was one white pigeon that I loved more than anything. She was beautiful and pure. When she looked at me, I whispered to myself, she had light in her eyes, powerful, blinding beams of light. She was my only joy. To the people in the street, I was just a crazy old man, talking to birds in the cold. But in my mind, I was still traveling. I spent my nights writing in my small hotel room. I predicted the invention of the portable smartphone. I saw the future of the internet. I saw a world where women would become leaders in science and society. I saw robots doing the hard work of the human race. I was a man living in 1940, but my eyes were looking at the year 2000 and beyond. I was a prisoner of the present, but a citizen of the future. Part 6. Into the Eternal Light. On a freezing night, in January 1943, the light in room 3327 finally went out. I was 86 years old. I died alone in the silence of the great glowing city that I had helped to build. The machines I created were still humming all around me. After I passed away, the government came to my room. They were afraid of my mind. They took all my papers, my drawings, and my notebooks. They were searching for a death ray weapon. They were searching for secrets of the universe. They knew that even in death, Tesla was a man of power. But they could not take my real legacy. They could not hide the truth. Look around you today, wherever you are. When you turn on a lamp, when you use your computer, when you see a wireless signal connecting you to a friend, remember my name. I was the boy born in the middle of a storm. I was the man who caught the lightning and gave it to the world. I do not care that they stole my ideas, I once said. I care that they do not have any of their own. The world is now full of the light that my mother promised me on that stormy night in Smiljan. The darkness is gone. The invisible strings of energy now connect every person, across every ocean, and across great distances. We are all connected. My name is Nikola Tesla. The light I helped create is everywhere. My body is gone, but my work lives on. And the future, the beautiful, wireless future, the future still belongs to the dreamers. The story of the light never truly ends. It only changes its form. It only waits for the next dreamer to find it. Thank you for listening to the life of Nikola Tesla. I hope my spark lives on inside you. The world is bright, the air is full of wonder, and you are never truly alone. Stay curious. Keep dreaming, and never be afraid of the storm. Good night. See you in the next story. Sleep well.